My name is Jennifer Mass, and I'm the Andrew Melon Professor of Cultural Heritage Science here at Bard Graduate Center. One of the great things about having a scientist involved in the Bard Graduate Center is that some of the questions that weren't necessarily accessible about an object previously, now we can study. And these can include things like the mechanism of degradation that an object is going through, or its state of preservation, questions about its provenance and its attribution, and even sometimes its authenticity. We look a lot at materials, how they change over the time, particularly everyday materials like early silver, that kind of thing. And so when we talk a lot about object biography here at Bard, and there's so much that science can give us in terms of the information that we need to truly understand an object's history and biography. Coming from a liberal arts background, I had this passionate interest in the arts and humanities, but also the sciences. So I went on to get my PhD in chemistry at Cornell University. And while I was working there, I was meeting archaeologists who were using instrumental methods of analysis to study cultural material, like Mayan ceramics, for example. And that was my first introduction to this link between the humanities and the sciences, specifically through archaeological science and through art conservation. Following my postdoctoral position at the Metropolitan Museum, I became an assistant professor of conservation science in the art conservation program in Buffalo, and from there went on to become a professor at the art conservation department at University of Delaware, and during that time was also working for 15 years in a decorative arts museum, the Winter Tour Museum, and consulting with the Barnes Foundation, studying early modern art. The BGC is an inherently collaborative institution, and there is so much overlap in the faculty's interests that we do wind up frequently collaborating with each other and teaching courses together too. One example of a recent collaborative project that we did with students at BGC is we took them to the American Museum of Natural History to study Northwest Coast objects and understand which objects were actually indigenous objects and which objects were actually made for the tourist trade. And it turned out that through our elemental analysis, we were able to identify an artificial patina on an object that was thought to be original, but actually turned out to have been made for the tourist trade. We are really approaching the past from such an interdisciplinary perspective. We're looking at things from a philosophical perspective, a historical perspective, an art historical perspective, archaeology, anthropology, and now bringing science into the mix has been a thrilling process.